outstanding to have 57 meetings under our belt for today, which is outstanding. I would like to start with our packet. Our packets were outside the door. If you didn't snag one, go ahead and take a moment to grab a packet right outside the door. I'd like to approve the contents and order of our agenda. Is there anybody willing to make that motion?
So move.
Okay, I'm going to take Joan's motion and Jim as a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor, please say aye.
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 All of those opposed? All right, motion passes to approve our agenda as presented. Can we go over and review the minutes from our last meeting in January 14th, 2026? Anybody who has had a chance to review, please feel free to make a motion to approve the minutes. Thank you, John. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jim. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All of those opposed, same sign. Motion passes to approve the January 14, 2026 minutes. We now have another item, which is approving appointments of at-large members. We currently have 5 at-large members, 2 are reappointments, and 1 is shiny and new. And our shiny new human sitting next to me is Casey. And our 2 re-ups, thank you very much, are Jeff Miller and Joan Copperrood. Is there a motion to accept these 3 at-large positions for the Cass Clay Food Commission?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Jim. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Jeff. Thank you. Any further discussion?
I'll say this, I'm delighted to see Casey Steele up sport.
Agreed. Agreed.
Before another 2 good.
Marvelous. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes to approve our new and returning at-large committee members. Now, let's start with introductions. Seems odd to do business before introductions, but we'll just spice it up and continue on. My name is Heather Niesemeyer. I represent the city of Moorhead, and I am your chair for the Cass Clay Food Commission. We'll then go to my left. Once we make it around the table, we'll go to those online.
Thank you. Casey Steele, first time here. Excited to be here. I own Square One, so shared commercial kitchen, and then for several years was on the board of Heart and Soul. So food security and access is really important to me and food in general. So very happy to be here and see what all you guys do in person. Thank you.
Karen Engler at large.
Rory Beal, Health Promotion Director for Clay County Public Health.
Jeff York at large. John Strand, City Commission, Fargo.
Jill Ampule, Cass Clay Hungry Coalition. Joan Copperrood at large.
Amy Nash, visiting with Candy Holcomb. I'm on the board with More Than Manor.
Jim Capitan, Cass County Commission.
Erica Frank, Clay County Planning Technician.
Candy Holcomb, More Than Manor.
Joel Harden, University of Minnesota Extension.
Carol Stantz, Fargo Cass Public Health.
Adam Altenberg with the Fargo Moorhead Metropolitan Council of Governments.
Eric Haig, I'm with Global Refuge and a member of the steering committee.
Jeffrey Miller, Cass County Soil Conservation District.
Bryce Haugen, and I'm here visiting on behalf of the Clay County Climate Action Group.
Marvelous. Let's go to those folks online.
Good morning. I'm Rita Usatis at ESU Extension Service in Cass County.
Good morning. I'm Amy Zundel. I'm West Fargo City Commissioner.
Good morning. I'm Paul Henkel, representing the city of Horace.
Good morning. My name is Abby Persons. I'm an NDSU nursing student just listening in for nurse advocacy in the community.
Hello, I'm Candace Anderson. I'm on the Action Network Committee, and with the Moorhead Food Hub, and I just started with Heart and Soul Community Cafe this week.
I believe that's everyone. Is that everyone on our participant list, Adam? Let him introduce himself. Marvelous. Thank you, everybody, again for joining us for our meeting today. Let us start with some leadership updates. I'm going to first turn it over to Adam and Eric, who are going to go over financial, our subcommittee group.
It's going to be a very, very quick update, but in January, the commission did approve forming a financial health committee. There is 5 members. It's Eric Haig, Jeffrey Miller, Candace Anderson, our chair, Heather Niesmeyer, and myself. We met in February just to look at past grant applications that the Cass Clay Partners has applied for, and to look at some upcoming grants. But we also did discuss what are our asks going to be for future grants. So our next steps are going to be to kind of figure that out as a subcommittee. There's a couple of upcoming grants. There's one in April that we have information about that was provided by Rory Beal. Rory, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Were you able to provide some information on that?
I can provide a little bit. So there's a grant opportunity with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And they're looking for applications focusing on waste management. So the deadline is, I think, later in April. And it's a wide range of dollar amounts from, I think, maybe 30, 40,000 up to, I've heard that Clay County Solid Waste is considering something that's much more significant than that. And so we've had grants from them before, and I certainly think it aligns with work that we've been doing.
For people who don't know, did you define MPCA?
The Minnesota Pollution Control Agency.
Thank you, Rory.
Yes.
That's all for Financial Health Committee. Excellent, thank you. And the planning team overview for today. Today is Clay County Day, which many folks may not know, but I'm hoping you can tell us about that process and who helped put together today's agenda.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So today's meeting is brought to you by the planning team from Clay County. Erica Frank, who I would say helps spearhead it, Paul Kraphoff, and myself. And we are intending to include several updates and presentations from the planning team and from our partners. So let's start with a presentation on More Than Manna, which highlights efforts around food systems, food access, and community-centered food initiatives. We're going to kick that off first. Then we're going to hear an update on the Clay County Land Development Ordinance from Erica, focusing on how revisions in that ordinance affect land use, agriculture, and food system development in the county. After that, we're going to receive a municipal composting blueprint update from Erica, diving into statistics and education on composting, as well as sharing progress, composting infrastructure and organics in the region. And then our anchor, we're going to finish it with an education and knowledge sharing session by a local initiative inspired to create an organics composting program for Clay County. So we're going to kick it off with More Than Manna and Candy.
Thank you for having me. My name is Candy Holcomb. I'm the CEO and founder of More Than Manna. We are a small, fresh start, North Dakota registered nonprofit. We're awaiting our 501(c) status at this point. We are working under a fiscal sponsorship with Relevant Life Church. The heart of More Than Manna is pretty simple. Our mission is to nourish both body and spirit in our community. Right now, every other week we're going out and we are in the community distributing a hot meal to those experiencing homelessness and other life challenges. And at just one stop alone, we are averaging 65 meals, upwards to 75. If we were out and moving, we would double. We also are somewhat unique in the fact that we are going out and finding people where they're at. The people that we are serving generally getting their food isn't their first thought. And we are out there, and we do have ministry involved, so we are out there trying to hook them up, not only with food, but some next steps. And our outreach is personal and relational. It allows us to reach the individuals who generally do fall through the cracks. And we are giving them more than sustenance. We are going above and beyond, making sure that they're having nourishment. The meals are deliberately designed to nourish people, not just sustain. We focus on clean ingredients, balanced nutrition, and good carbs and quality proteins, foods that help provide real energy and support overall health. Every step of the process matters to us. We take care to source the cleanest possible ingredients, and all of our meals are prepared in a commercially licensed kitchen at Faith Journey Church in West Fargo. In addition to hot meals during the summer and every other weekend, we are providing snack bags. Again, not just sustenance. We're deliberate in what we choose and put in those bags. We include fresh fruits with our meals and with the snack bags because we know that's something that people are missing out on. And when you have canned fruits, you also have added sugars that they don't need. Providing this kind of nutrition is important because research from institutions like Harvard Medical School, UCLA Health, and Johns Hopkins has shown strong connections between gut health and mental health. Studies on what is called gut-brain axis demonstrate that the bacteria in our digestive system influences our mood, stress responses, and even depression. In fact, researchers have found that imbalances in gut bacteria can contribute to anxiety, depression, and cognitive challenges. What that means for us as a community is simple. Food is just not fuel. It is a tool for health, stability, and better decision-making. So when we ask people who are struggling to make healthier choices in life, we also have to ask ourselves, are we giving them the tools their bodies need to support those choices? Nutrition is one of those tools. At More Than Manna, we believe that something as simple as well-prepared meals can restore dignity, support health, and open the door to hope. Our work is faith-driven. We are Christian-based, and we serve through the heart of Christ, through compassion, kindness, and empathy. But our mission is ultimately about community. We want people to know they matter, that they are seen, and that they are worth investing in. As we continue to grow, we hope to expand our outreach, serve more people, and collaborate with partners in the community who share the vision of building a healthier Fargo-Moorhead region. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, there is a board member here today as well. I don't know that you have anything prepared, but I want to give you the opportunity to share or add to Candy's presentation.
Candy is an amazing leader. We met and she had tossed an idea out, and all of a sudden we're all making it happen. And she's kind of the driver of all of this. And she plans all of the meetings and calculates all of the nutrition with it and puts countless hours into that. So I wanted to just give her a little shout out of all of the effort that her well-crafted message is 100% heart, and she has her hands in all of the pieces and parts. And so it's very easy for us as board members to follow her and to help her expand it.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any questions from our visitors or our board members or commissioners today for Nancy?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Where does the majority of the food come from and where is it prepared?
We had an amazing donor who has set us up pretty well for the moment. We are health department licensed kitchen at Faith Journey Church in West Fargo. We prepare there and then we transport downtown.
And say again, where do people access this food downtown?
Generally, right now, we were gifted a van by Fix It Forward Ministry. So we get to, right now, we're in the winter months sticking more by the library because during daytime hours on weekends, and we do things on weekends because there are no services on weekends. And for warming, people tend to go to the library. So that's where we find the majority of our people.
We have a couple wagons and basically everything is prepackaged. We package it, I should say, into portions or whatever, and we go find people and give them a hobby.
And in the summer, yeah, we have wagons and we just tool around downtown and along the river.
And so your call really has been to fulfill a need that was left in a gap of funding that reduced the services to those who are unhoused at the Downtown Engagement Center and Gladys Ray shelters. Am I making assumptions there, or is that correct? Filling in the in-betweens.
Yeah, and I can attest from having some health issues myself, how important good, clean food is for people. And with that journey, I started thinking, you know, the people who need this most are not getting it. So.
And so it's weekends, so it's 2 days a week, and you said you primarily do 55 to 65 meals each day of the weekend?
It's just on Saturdays right
Just
now.
on Saturdays.
We are, those of us involved all have full-time jobs. We're slowly going to transition into doing a couple a week. And the eventual goal is to have daily and hopefully even twice daily.
Okay.
But it's a long road.
It is. Well, and I think the gap in services has shown that those who are unhoused have to be more mobile. Churches United does serve 7 days a week, but that is quite a haul if you don't have appropriate winter gear or shoes or even the physical ability to be able to do that. And so I appreciate you both coming today to share what you are doing. It's part of the food system in our community.
And we do have a Facebook page, kind of ill-prepared with some things because we have technical difficulties. We do have a Facebook page that you can find information, reach out to us.
More Than Manna on Facebook?
Yes.
Excellent.
And it is 2 N's.
2 N's. No, that's all right. That's good.
Can I ask one more question?
Absolutely, Rory.
So do you guys end up referring folks to other services, people who have other needs in
Yes.
addition to food?
Yes, if we know the appropriate resources, we definitely make the referrals, so.
Excellent. Any other questions from our group? Any online? Did I miss any? I don't see any hands. Well, I thank you both again for being here with us today. We're going to move on to agenda item number 5, Clay County Land Development Ordinance Update from Erica. It's also attachment 3 in your packet.
Yes, I'm going to speak today about the Clay County Land Development Ordinance update that occurred last June in 2025. And this land development ordinance update applies to the unincorporated parts of Clay County. So it wouldn't include any cities such as Moorhead or Dilworth. This is just the unincorporated parts. A little background into it. May 17th of 2022, Clay County updated our Clay County Comprehensive Transportation Plan for the 2045. And this document sets forth goals and objectives for our county and is used to guide the land use policies, ordinances, and zoning regulations in the county. The county's previous large ordinance update occurred in 2012 with intermittent smaller text amendments that had been granted between 2012 and 2023. And an update was really needed to incorporate the objectives of that new comp plan, as well as create a more readable, user-friendly land development ordinance. So there was plenty of public input opportunities between June 2023 and June of 2025. Individual meetings, work group sessions with city officials, townships, commissioners, and state departments, as well as a monthly standing agenda item, the Planning Commission meetings. So while the land development ordinance update was quite broad, I'm going to focus in on just the food system related updates that were made. So starting with our comp plan goal and objective for community and resilience, it was really encourage practice and activities to achieve healthy food access for all residents. And how we kind of incorporated that in our new update was there was some holes in our keeping of farm animals on residential lots. So in the previous code, you had to, it was only permitted on lots that were sized 2 acres or greater, and you couldn't be located in a platted residential subdivision. There were setbacks required that just kept fences that contained the animals 10 feet off the property lines. The issue we saw with this is there was multiple rural subdivisions in the county that wanted to have a chicken chickens on the property. And Moorhead had updated their code that allowed chickens in town, yet if you had 1.5 acres out of town or you were in a platted subdivision, you couldn't have a single chicken. So we updated our code and it allows it as an accessory use in all zoning districts that are residentially assessed lots. And then we prorated it. So lots that were smaller than 2 acres in size could still have a certain number of animal units on their property. Chickens, goats typically are allowed on almost all lots. And then it incorporated setbacks from neighboring residences and wells. Because that's typically where you're going to see the problem. Say you have a chicken and it's right next door to right outside the bedroom window of your neighboring residence. So we just kept setbacks from the residences and then as wells as well. While the well setback is incorporated in state statute, it's just good to have it ready right there, easy for residents to see that. And then we also updated our seasonal farm produce sales on site. So say you have a 5-acre garden and you wanted to set up a little farm produce stand on the side of the road. You can see on our use table, the previous ordinance really only permitted it in 5 different zoning districts. So we updated that to allow it across all zoning districts because commercial ag is our prime use in the county. So it really should allow people to sell produce on site across all zoning districts. And then additionally, we updated the seasonal farm produce sales off-site. So say you had a garden, you were trying to sell things on site, but you also maybe wanted to sell some eggs that you were growing on your homestead site. Updated those as well. But there wasn't as many updates needed, but we figured might as well fill the gaps. Additionally, we updated our agricultural use definition to include apiculture or the keeping of bees. We have gotten questions in the past about it, and it wasn't outlined and included in the previous code, the definition. So we just wanted to make it a lot more clear that, yes, you can certainly keep bees on your property. And then looking at the 2045 comprehensive plan goal and objective again of our land use agriculture, protecting prime ag soils for commercial, industrial, residential development. I will say this is our land use goal that is probably the most used out of the comprehensive plan when we're looking at all land use permits and projects that come forward to the county. So one of those things that we wanted to update was looking at our solar farm development. While our previous code didn't include a ground cover pollinator habitat requirement, it was typically required in a CUP process that was granted when the permit came in front of the Planning Commission. They typically required a ground cover pollinator habitat approved by the Board of Soil and Water. But our new code, we included that in the standards. So that ground cover requirement for installation and establishment meeting the beneficial habitat standards set forth by the Minnesota Board of Water and Soil Resource. So it's just a blanket across the board, you have to have it. And then additionally, we also brought in some agricultural protection. We have in the past had some concern from different commissioners on the Planning Commission that soil projects were taking out of production ag land temporarily. So we incorporated in there that they have to demonstrate the co-location of ag uses such as agrivoltaics or placing ag conservation easements on equivalent area of prime ag land or locating the project in a drinking water supply management area or a wellhead protection area. Back to our 2045 comprehensive plan. A goal for land use residential was to provide opportunities for quality rural residential development in Clay County, as well as encouraging the development of agriculture and conservation subdivisions that cluster residential development on small lots and provide for shared open spaces. And the way we did this was in the previous code, it did allow for major subdivisions of up to 16 lots, but they were supposed to be located on wooded or marginal soils. So properties that maybe the ag land wasn't producing as well and could maybe be taken out of production and turned into residences. However, there was a loophole and it allowed developers to just apply for a conditional use permit granted by the Planning Commission if the soils were not marginal. And we did see that a couple of times. So we wanted to close up that loophole. Updated code reduced that number for residential lots down to 8, but we created like a density bonus if they did certain standards. So the purpose of an agricultural and natural resource subdivision is to encourage an organized pattern residential development limits impacts to prime farmland, natural woodlands, prairies, wetlands, lakes, rivers, streams, wildlife habitats, and or natural features and resources. And then gave a density bonus if they were to preserve or restore certain areas. So acceptable uses for the reserved areas could be farming by subdivision property owners, farming by a tenant who leases the land, community gardens, small scale livestock operations, and so forth. And then acceptable uses of the reserved natural resource area would include like protection of natural restored woodlands, prairies, wetlands, lakes, rivers, streams, and or other natural features, and or they could use it as a compatible recreation area, trails and such. Design considerations were also included in the standards to minimize the fragmentation of the agricultural land, avoiding encroachment onto native plant communities, which we do have in the county, and protecting scenic views. Also, the plat should also reserve the most agriculturally productive areas when they're going through their design phase. Looking at the land use residential goal that allows for home occupations in the unincorporated areas of Clay County. That is one thing I will say about Clay County is they're very entrepreneurial spirit. In the past 5 years that I've worked there, there has been an enormous amount of home occupation permits that have come forward. So we wanted to kind of allow for diversification of small farming operations and allow for agricultural tourism. While the previous code did not include this exact use, there are agricultural tourism operations that are out there. They just kind of fit within different names or uses on our table. Retreat centers for wedding venues that occur on farms, or outdoor recreation for corn mazes in the fall. So we updated our code and include the agricultural tourism. It's a commercial activity that can be carried out at a farm or ranch, allows organizations or members of the general public for recreational entertainment, charitable or educational purposes to view, enjoy, participate in rural activities. Could be farming, viticulture, winemaking, ranching, historical, cultural, farm staying, gleaning, harvest drone, or natural activities and attractions. And we have had one smaller operation that has come forward. They have host fall events and have applied for the agricultural tourism. So we're excited to see that progress in the future, and hopefully more smaller organizations come forward and fit within that realm. The 2045 comprehensive plan goal for land use residential also is to maintain an environment that supports ag at all scales throughout the county. One issue we had seen with our feedlot ordinance when it was put into effect, it originally only applied to 200 animal units, or so roughly about 200 head of cattle. It was updated again, and they removed some wording in it that made a issue with a resident setback, and they didn't make a loophole that allowed for an on-site residence. So somebody that's living next to the feedlot, should they separate off their residence from the feedlot, they now have to meet 1,000-foot setback. So we were seeing a lot of variances that had to come in front of our Board of Adjustment because during 2020, there was a refinance. Everybody wanted to pull their homesteads out of their ag land to get a better mortgage rate. And it created this conundrum of now they had to come and get a variance because their feedlot didn't meet the setback requirement. So we fixed that. We created a neighbor residential and dwelling setback. We adjusted for different scales of operations. So if you only have 10 to 49 animal units versus 50 to 999 or greater, there's a varying scale that you need to be set back from adjacent residences. Made a loophole if the feedlot operator was living in that adjacent residence, it didn't apply, and also adjusted a few of the other setbacks as well. So is there any questions for me at all?
I have a question about farmsteads, and I don't know about Minnesota, but it used to be in North Dakota that there were ways of making farmsteads tax exempt. Is that fit into this at all, like a farmstead itself, or they would connect farmsteads to other areas with a little strip of land to make them tax? Does that happen in the Minnesota side?
That would be probably more of a tax assessor question. I do know that there are different exemptions or they can do ag homestead exemptions or homestead exemptions in the county. But yeah, that would be more of a tax assessor question. Yep.
Any other questions for Erica? Everybody knows what an apiary is and viticulture and stuff like that.
Viticulture is the making of wine, I believe. Yeah.
It is. And so I just, I think being more inclusive was a really great way to go. I think, we talk a lot about chickens here at the Cass Clay Food Commission, but I think being able to move forward and beyond chickens, I think there has been a lot of discussion. I know you mentioned goats. I don't hear that every day in the city of Moorhead, but bees has come up. And so being able to be inclusive of those other food system sources that we could have on smaller lots in smaller communities, and even the ability to sell your produce at the end of your driveway, being inclusive of that, I think is pretty outstanding. Last call for questions for Erica. Yeah.
Just quickly, what's a density bonus?
So if in those agricultural and natural subdivisions, it's reduced, restricted to eight residential lots per quarter. So, per quarter. So per 160 acres, you can have 8 residential lots. But if you say set aside a certain amount of land within that quarter, and put a restriction on you cannot develop this part, or it needs to stay as ag land, then you could get an increase in the amount of residential lots that are allowed in that quarter.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions? Yeah, Karen.
For the solar farms, was that a statewide mandate for the pollinator friendly ground cover, did you say?
It's the county requires it, but it's through the Board of Soil and Water. They have certain standards that they allow. Yeah. At a certain level for community solar, once they get to a certain level, it is required at the state level. But the county only regulates up to a certain megawatt. So we wanted to make sure that our 1 megawatts were required.
Any other questions regarding the update to their zoning planning awesomeness? Thank you for the ordinance update, Erica. I sincerely appreciate all of the details, the information, and the language use. I think that as we look to our communities for development and inclusion, that's a really great template for others to use in our neighboring communities as a potential for inclusion. The next item we have is, I believe, Erica again. Yes. Municipal composting. There we go.
There we go. Okay. So we thought a great segue into our final anchor presentation would be to go back and review our 2017 municipal composting blueprint that was created, and then just kind of update it with out-of-date links or out-of-date statistics. And then it'd be good education to just go back and look through it. I can read through our little attachment here because it is a good little overview of what the blueprints are for those that maybe are not aware. So since March of 2015, the Cass Clay Food Partners developed nearly 24 resource documents that are available on both MetroCog's website and the Cass Clay Food Partners website that highlight urban ag, food access, sustainability, and other food system topics relevant to the Fargo-Moorhead area. These documents include blueprints which look at food systems from a land development code perspective, and issue briefs and snapshots provide more of an overview of community local issues. Members have also developed a new framework document with information regarding zoning practices, local ordinance, and urban agriculture. This framework is intended to be one of our 5 historic pillar framework documents for the Cass Clay Food Partners and serves as a tool. So our municipal and composting, commercial composting blueprint, I reviewed it and updated, made appropriate updates to it. And we'll just kind of look at what updates were made and how it kind of related to the 2017 or what it was back in 2017. So every year in the United States, 133 billion pounds of food is wasted. That is up from 70 billion pounds of food wasted in 2017. There are now 17 large cities and counties and states across the nation with commercial food waste disposal bans, which is up from 7 in 2017. So there has made some progress in the last 9 years, but fortunately, I wish there was more. Concordia College conducted a food waste study back in 2014, and at that time, 220 to 270 pounds of food was wasted daily, or about 6,600 pounds per month. In 2016, they started a Taste Not Waste with a goal to reduce food waste by 50% by 2020. And in 2019, they had reached the reduction goal of 38%. And then unfortunately, COVID happened and the program kind of fell apart. Additionally, there's 40% of Americans believe that they do not have time to worry about household food waste. So any creation of a system that's both simple and easy is necessary for success of any composting system. Also, residential education is also a very crucial aspect. You look at recycling when it first started out, education, and look how that has come. So what to compost is included in the blueprint. What things you can compost, what things you should not compost, and why. While this is not a complete list, there are various other materials accepted by some composting programs, including protein foods. Those just need to have certain compost systems in place, such as high heat, to kill off those pathogens. The blueprint also includes landfills servicing Cass and Clay County, the Fargo landfill in the city of Fargo, as well as the Clay County landfill, which is located outside of Hawley, Minnesota. There are tons accepted per year. It hasn't really changed a whole lot. However, the Fargo City landfill's yearly profit went up exponentially from 2017 to now. And sorry, this should say composting sites servicing Cass and Clay counties. There are 4 composting sites that service the areas, and these typically are all yard waste drop-off sites. And their tons have stayed about approximately the same throughout the year. The blueprint also includes all sanitation companies that service properties within Cass and Clay County. And then included with it is also a framework that looks at evaluating municipal composting programs and shows the benefits and the concerns that might be associated with composting programs. So health benefits include containing macro and micronutrients are often absent in synthetic fertilizers, as well as improves overall air quality. The biggest concern is typically pathogens can be present in compost that contains manure. However, it should be noted that the state of Minnesota does require that the compost be tested for contaminants, arsenic, cadmium, copper, and lead before it can be sold. And that's a state requirement. And environmental benefits, there are many. So just a few: releases nutrients slowly, that buffers the soil, which can bring the pH levels to optimum range. Adding compost certainly makes soil easier to work with, as well as it allows beneficial insects, worms, and other organisms to burrow through. It can suppress disease and harmful pests that might overrun and lifeless soil. Additionally, it encourages healthy root systems, reduces the need for chemical pesticides, can reduce the amount of waste in the landfills, which is our biggest thing, and reduces the effects of greenhouse gases by keeping waste out of the landfills. Beneficial microbes in the compost and other decomposing organic material can also activate certain disease-resistant systems in the plates. A concern is possible regrowth of the pathogens if it's not composted accordingly and appropriately. As well as insufficient stabilized compost can release a phytotoxic compound that reduces germination rates in seeds and can damage some seedlings if you're not appropriately amending it in the soil. Some social benefits. It offers an opportunity for closer cooperation between urban and rural communities in improving the area's economy. Many commercial compost plant operators have found a profitable market among truck gardeners, nurseries, landscape operations. And it also helps raise awareness about the amount of food waste that is produced at every level of in communities. The biggest concerns are obviously odor, appearance, and then possible effects on nearby properties if the pile is not properly managed. There are economic benefits as well, reducing the amount of material that goes to the landfill, which in turn reduces the cost of the landfill to the consumer. Compost can then also be sold by the municipality to homeowners or farmers. One of the concerns is that jurisdiction cost of administering the composting system or monitoring and addressing issues as they arise. The blueprint also looks at a couple different composting programs. Minneapolis was chosen to be looked at and reviewed. This is kind of obviously a larger population than what we have here. But as of July 5th, 50% of their customers had signed up for the program. It's a curbside pickup, drop-offs for organics. And then it's free of city collection services. there's also drop-off sites that can be utilized at no charge. And then there's a compost pickup that's included in your garbage and recycling fees for the city, so it's not an extra cost. And Hennepin County does require that certain large-scale businesses have to have either a food scrap diversion program or just utilize the organics recycling program. And then additionally looked at the Western Lake Superior Sanitary District. This is a 530 square mile region up by Duluth, Minnesota. It includes several surrounding cities and then several surrounding townships. This population covered in this area is about 140,000 people. And this is kind of unique in that they have a large food waste creator, a ban on their disposal of food scraps. So restaurants, colleges, hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, food processors, and caterers that are doing business in that region are required to source, separate, and then recycle their pre-consumed food waste and send it to compost. They have local garbage haulers will collect the food waste at the business location, transport it to the facility for a fee. And then the food waste is separated from the regular garbage, is not subject to tax or fees associated with the garbage sent to the landfill. So there's no tipping fees, there's no solid management fee, and the state of Minnesota disposal tax, which is 17% on clean source separated food waste, is not there. Residents can also collect and dispose of organics in the region at any of their several free drop sites. The blueprint also touches base on 6 compost management in our regional jurisdictions. So looked at Bismarck and Grand Forks, there wasn't any change from 2017. They still don't do a food waste program and they only have yard waste composting. Duluth, Minnesota, there's no change since 2017. It just has continued the Western Lake Sanitary District with the regional center that manages the organic waste drop-off site. Lincoln, Nebraska does have a new program in place, 2 different partners that work down there. The Waste to Energy Lincoln offers a curbside collection and drop-off site for residential and commercial users. And then Prairieland Dairy has a drop site for their food waste for local businesses to utilize. The municipality just continues to operate their yard waste composting as they previously did. Mankato, Minnesota has made some updates since 2017. They have a drop site for food waste, and then updated now is there's no fee for Mankato residents. Only registration is required to drop off the food waste and composting material. Rochester, Minnesota had as a new program since 2017 and started in 2024. And then the county Olmsted runs the food waste program, and it's now permanent as of 2026 because it was so successful. They accept food scraps from registered participants at drop sites. And then they are now updating that from 2024 to require no fee for the composting bags. Previously, they had to pay a fee to get the bag, but there would be an annual maintenance fee that might apply. Sioux Falls, South Dakota also has a new program called SODAC Compost, and they have 2 drop sites for food waste and then continue to do yard waste at their local landfill. The blueprint also includes exhibits or sample ordnance that's been taken from the Western Lake Superior Sanitary District, as well as composting educational materials. Are there any questions for me at all?
This might be a silly question, but you mentioned that it's required that the compost be tested for things like lead, other materials. Am I correct in thinking that if it tests positive for any of those things, it just goes straight to the landfill?
That would be my assumption, yes. That's a requirement by the state, and I'm assuming, that it would have to go to the landfill. There's no amending that if there's too much. Unless, I don't think they could dilute it down. I don't think that would be an option. I think it'd have to go to the landfill.
That's for resale. That's for.
Correct. Reselling compost.
I think that though the environmental benefits of the composting would have occurred, so it wouldn't release methane when sent to the landfill, at least. So it would still have that benefit, even if you couldn't sell it.
Have you ever tried to, I know you mentioned that people don't have time to think about their food waste, but the monetary value of that food waste, not studying what that number is and that literal, because sometimes I think you could think what goes to landfill and that breaks down, it's not that big of a deal, but they're literally throwing money away too.
The 133 billion pounds of food is wasted. I mean, we had a bingo topic and it was with the Cascade Food Commission and it was 80 or something. I mean, the fact that that number has continued to grow at an alarming rate. It's almost, it might double in 10 years or wait, yeah, 2017 to 2027. It's looking to double because it was 70 billion before. That's just wild. But what is the cost of it? I think you had highlighted in your slides, Erica, that yard waste hasn't really increased since 2017. But for those of us who are regularly engaging with county and municipal governments, our cities are growing at a rapid rate. And so if our lawn waste tonnage hasn't gone up, I think that's a great sign that people are using yard composting facilities and options within our municipalities. And so finding ways to expand that, educate, or encourage that, I think is really great. That's a powerful statistic that I saw in your slides, Erica. I also, the recycling benefits are in Clay County, and I only know this because I sit on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee for Clay County, is about 40% organic waste. And so the idea, if we took 40% of the waste out, our landfills would live longer. So yes, it decomposes, but what are the costs to our community and our county as a whole for having 40% of our waste? But the national average for organic waste is about 30%. So that tells me that in Clay County, our recycling programs and education is working really well. And so I encourage those who are on the North Dakota side of the river to maybe explore what currently is the usage. And I mean, Erica had done up some stats in the blueprint for our local communities, but what would that mean and how long will the Fargo landfill last? And where in the county will the next parts go and move, and what will be that cost ultimately for throwing 133 billion tons of food a year? Any other questions for,
I just
yeah.
have a comment. I realize this is probably stating the obvious, but I worked with the students in 2014 at Concordia, and also creating the Taste Not Waste response to that reduced the food waste by 38% in their largest dining facility. But over and over and over again, students said, we just didn't know. We just didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fully supportive of composting and industrial composting, household composting. But it feels that the educational piece on not creating the food waste in the first place is where we have to weave, almost a blueprint itself on not wasting the food. Because once we raise the awareness and that the campus Taste Not Waste program went into effect, I think students and many people in our communities don't want to be problems and create the problem. They want to do the right things. And so I think the education piece of not creating the food waste in the first place, I mean, for economically, once we translated to how much it costs the college, and then we said, who do you think is going to pay for that? It's going to go down to your tuition, and once they saw all of that, again, the students, they're young, they were, 19, 20 years old, we just didn't know. But I think a lot of households would probably say the same thing. We just didn't know. And families, the students would go home and tell their families, and they made changes that way. So that's how we reduce the food waste.
There is prairie composting.
It's a local business.
Yeah, but we just started at Square One because it's so simple. I tried doing composting before and it's not my thing. I just couldn't manage it, keep it correct. I couldn't burn the tumbler, all the things that.
That's a wonderful segue though, Casey, because page 11 of attachment 4 has an appendix, composting educational material, like 3 simple steps for food scrap collection. And I think if this page 11 and 12 really works well with table 1, which is on page 2, what to compost, what not to compost. And those are all things that we can sort of take home. I'm a composter, much to my chagrin of my neighbors who think it's ugly. But it doesn't smell, it doesn't have any of those things. But there are several things on the list from table 1 that I know that I am personally not doing. I would have never thought to throw my dryer lint. in my compost. Like that's, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because it's mostly dog hair and fuzz and fluff, but that, I mean, just the really sort of great, interesting ideas within this document that you've shared with us, Erica, for updating the blueprint. Is it now currently updated on the website? Like it is live?
Don't believe so yet.
Okay.
Because I believe in the past, the commission has had to review and then essentially accept.
Okay. Oh, look, action step. It's like we were made to do this together. So after reviewing the beautiful attachment 4, which is the updated blueprint for municipal and commercial composting, I would love to entertain a motion to approve this blueprint for the Cass Clay Food Partners. Excellent. Thank you, Joan, for your motion. Is there a second?
Second, Engler.
Thank you, Karen. Any further discussion? Comments, questions? More praise for Erica?
Yes, I did want to say more praise for Erica. I just so appreciate you taking the initiative to pull together such a comprehensive update on the blueprint. We've been talking within the steering committee for years, probably, about how we need to go through and update all of our blueprints. It was in our strategic plan that was approved a couple of years ago, and just really commend you for taking the initiative to do that and for doing such a thorough, comprehensive job on it. So just wanted to say thank you.
Any additional discussion to the motion on the floor? No? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign. Motion passes to accept the updated municipal and commercial composting blueprint. Thank you very much, Erica. Moving on to agenda item 7, education and sharing on creating an organics composting program. We have 2 visitors with us today, Bryce and Fred. If you would like to introduce yourselves again, since it's been a hot minute since we did intros, and then share your presentation. Who are you, what you're doing, and why you're here today?
Yeah, well, I'm Bryce Haugen, and for the last year, pretty much, we've had this group in Clay County called the Clay County Climate Action Group. And we were thinking of the best ways to impact climate change on the local level and settled upon this as one of the best, food composting program as one of the best ways to actually make an impact. And so a lot of it will be what Erica, it ties hand in hand with what Erica just went through and with the updated composting blueprint. But yeah, Fred and I will share with you our proposal, and we're looking to get a grant, and then that requires a local match. So.
Yes, well, I will first apologize for my tardiness. I made sort of a rookie error and did not write down the address. Streets and avenues are not the same. And but I did get here. So our plan is that Bryce is going to address the rationale for why we have set the priorities we have. Then I'm going to make some comments about kind of what we're doing forward as tactics and some ideas about moving forward. We're going to try to do that quickly so that there would be time for questions. So Bryce is going to say why the group has established a municipal composting or commercial composting facility as our priority.
All right. So just to reiterate, food composting is the controlled, oxygen-rich decomposition process of food scraps and other organic waste, like vegetable peels, fruit remnants, coffee grounds, etc., by microorganisms. And this transforms the material into a nutrient-rich compost, a dark, crumbly, soil-like substance that can be used as a natural fertilizer. It's excellent for combating climate change, is economically smarter than putting these waste products in landfills, and finally, and most importantly, it's doable on a local level. It's been proven. The proposal of the Clay County Climate Action Group is to spend $2 million of state and county money to build a food composting facility in Clay County. This facility would be a place initially for large food compost producers to send their materials, diverting from the landfill. And we would pick up waste at large producers and then have drop-off sites for residents for their food compost. This facility would produce natural fertilizer, and then it could be sold to gardeners and others that are interested in the product. Food composting prevents powerful methane emissions from landfills. Food waste in landfills decomposes without oxygen anaerobically, and that produces large amounts of methane, which is a greenhouse gas that's 25 to 80 times more potent than CO2. It uses oxygen, mainly releasing CO2, much less impactful, and it would drastically cut the methane. Food composting also sequesters carbon in the soil, which locks away carbon for longer periods and acts as a natural carbon sink, pulling CO2 from the atmosphere. It also reduces the need for synthetic fertilizers because of the product that can be sold locally at the end of the process is an alternative to the chemical fertilizers and returns the nutrients to the soils naturally. I don't really need to probably convince this group, about the importance of combating climate change, but just a couple examples. In Minnesota and North Dakota, it's led to larger precipitation events, which produce infrastructure damage, and also, it's altered our seasonal patterns. In the last 125 years, we've seen an increase of 3.2 degrees Fahrenheit in average annual temperatures. And the most recent years have ranked among the warmest on record, which I don't really need to tell you that. In fact, scaling food composting at a household and community level is one of the most practical, high-impact climate solutions that we have available today, and that's why we're focusing on it. Food composting facility is not just a good idea to combat climate change, though, it's also sensible economically. Corey Bang, the solid waste director at Clay County, is a huge supporter of this project. And he says that diverting organic waste would cut 30% or so waste from the landfill, which would extend its life from 40 years to whatever, something like 65 or 55 years, something like that. It would save hundreds of thousands of dollars, including tens of dollars per ton. And then finally, we don't have to reinvent the wheel to achieve success. The Clay County Climate Action Group has been looking at a successful effort in Pope and Douglas counties as a model for our proposed facility. And Fred now will talk more about their work and the grant process to get this off the ground.
Okay, I want to provide a little context for my remarks since we rep the Climate Action Group is an ad hoc citizens group. We have no real formal structure. We don't have any informal leadership. We have no constitution or bylaws. So I'm doing my best to talk about what I believe is the agenda and the things that the Climate Action Group wants to do. But I haven't submitted my remarks. They haven't been approved or anything like that. So it's my impression about what's happening. Bright, just to mention some things that were talked about here before. So the idea is to produce a compost facility for Clay County. Our plan is to start with large producers. We've had contacts with Concordia, with Moorhead's Minnesota State University Moorhead. I can show my age, and the school district, and also with the Holly district, and I believe the Barnesville school district. Everybody there is kind of interested in the idea. It's important for them, I think, if I could summarize, to say that they need it to be kind of budget neutral. So that's part of the grant process that we're thinking about, is trying to provide the equipment that they would need and the training they would need to move forward. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to put together the compost facility. The one that we have done the site visit for in Pope Douglas County has been in operation for, I believe, almost 10 years now. So it's operating, it's successful. There's another one, I believe, for Kitson Norman County that's also in process. There's one in Stearns County. We're kind of behind the curve here on this, whatever. So that's what the plan is going to try to be. That compost facility would be part of a broader program. Now, as a Climate Action Group, we will certainly be interested in initiatives that don't have to do with the food system, but those are not the purview of this group. So I'll try to focus on those. remember that I'm providing my perspective. I think it is highly probable that we will also pursue efforts to decrease food waste. That's been referenced here. Getting the food waste out of the waste stream is clearly the best climate thing because then it doesn't make any methane. You don't take care of it there. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're also going to probably be doing public awareness as that. Public awareness is important both for decreasing food waste and for participating in a food waste program. Also, because there are people who are here who are not from Clay County, although that decision is a long way from being made, it's very probable that that facility would be able to service places outside of Clay County. The people at at Pope Douglas have repeatedly talked about how they have more capacity and food waste could be sent to them. Becker County, for example, is now participating, and Becker County is taking food waste that they collect down to the Pope Douglas thing. There's been also contact with that Kitson Norman thing, and they said, well, if you want to ship it up here, we could take care of it here. I think it's probably Fargo to Clay County is closer than in Pope County. So I think that would be happening. A couple of other things were mentioned just in passing here. There was mention about pathogens when we made our site visit to the Pope Douglas facility. Their letters they use that about how it has to be approved. They have to get to a certain amount of temperature, which then kills all of the pathogens. That wouldn't deal with heavy metals, obviously, but all the pathogens are killed by the process. And then a little bit about municipal versus residential composting. Residential composting, which I do in the backyard, is clearly better for climate and methane production than putting it into the landfill. It's not nearly as good as a commercial facility because the commercial facility is much hotter. It does a better job of composting and it produces less methane. So that's the plan. We're trying to get, oh, and I'm sorry, the grant process. The grant process is from a Minnesota Pollution Control Agency grant program. It specifies awards of up to $2 million. Those awards, some of that money is specified for non-metro, Minnesota metro area, Twin Cities metro area things. So we think that we have a good chance there. We're getting a lot of help both from the people at Pope Douglas. They've given us their materials. And also Corey Bang has been very helpful for this. As Bryce had mentioned, Corey is really in on this. I don't know about his climate concerns, but I do know that he wants the food waste out of the landfill. He thinks that's a very important thing. So with that, if there are any questions that we could address, we'd certainly try to do so.
What can an organization, a group like the Cass Clay Food Commission, because we do represent some of the Clay County, what can we do to support? Hypothetically, if we wanted to support,
yes,
how could we do that?
Well, again, I speak for myself, but informed, I think, by the work with the Climate Action Group. The things that I would think of are, first of all, any public awareness programs that could be supported are going to be useful, so that would be very important. Anything that tries to get member organizations to support the program, because there's going to be not only a facility, you got to be trucking it, right? Well, in Pope Douglas, the people down there, the existing sanitation groups, those associated with the governments, didn't want to have anything part of it. They didn't want to be in transportation. So the Pope Douglas people had to buy their own trucks. They had to run their own trucks. They had to get contracting with people for drivers there. So anything that supports that you could integrate it with the that's happening already. Anything that makes it more reasonable that people would participate. We have reference here to government organizations that say, you don't have a choice, right? You have to do this. My sense is that we're quite a ways away from this here, but we could do things to provide incentives, I think. Like if you said, okay, we're going to give you a break on tipping fees to make this more likely, things like that. So anything that provides awareness and I think changes the incentive structure to make it more likely that people would participate is something that makes sense to me.
That's great. And also, if you could contact your county commissioners and voice your support, either at a meeting or via email or in person if you see them. The more that they know that there's public support for this project, the more likely they are to locate the match that we need at the local level. Which I believe is $400,000, right? It's 20%.
It's a 20% match.
Yes, so, which a lot of that can be in, or that's in kind as well as, money. So the facility, if they could donate the land, that would go a long way towards the, 20% match. So.
Grant timeline.
The deadline is April 15th.
What's a tipping fee?
Excellent question, Joe.
Okay.
Do you two want to field that? Or do you not know?
You tip the thing, right? When you take your truck and you like dump it.
Yeah.
It is, yes.
Basically, for every tip, they charge you a fee. Yeah.
And the reason they have tipping fees in counties, municipalities, whoever manages the sanitation, is to, at least in Clay County, support the system. So it pays for the staff who process, who push, who dump, who drive, and do everything with trash. So tipping fees are not a money-making type extravaganza. It's really just to have a flat processing of trash. But the cost of trash is really quite high. And even when you were talking, Fred, about, well, you could truck it to Pope Douglas. And I was like, I think at that point, it wouldn't be very good for the environment.
The people we have who are experts, who went to some government thing and did the calculation, said, well, it's still
beneficial,
still net beneficial to take it to Hoffman, Minnesota, rather than to throw it in the landfill as a methane production.
But
Just goes to show how toxic the methane is.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. That does sort of show that, but also would eliminate some of that cost and the tonnage for that waste that are calculated through tipping fees. Yeah, Jim.
I'm gonna show my ignorance here, but I think Fargo has a composting facility, but I think the only thing they accept is yard waste. So food waste goes into the garbage. Do they separate that out? It just goes in the landfill.
It just goes in the landfill. There is no process of separation. I do not believe in Cass County or Clay County currently.
Minnesota, I'm hopefully referencing Corey Bain correctly here, but I believe Corey told us at one of our meetings that in Minnesota, yard waste composting is the law. You have to do that, right? And that's why that happens at that level. I can't speak to North Dakota, but and I mean it's easier.
This is one of the questions I get a lot, and I just have the impression that we don't do anything about food compost on our side. And I know I think they tried something at Microsoft at one point and it didn't fly. But this difference between the two mindsets is really interesting.
Well, but as Casey mentioned, there is a local business that is trying to address the environmental issue and turn it into a business model. And so they collect yard waste. And as Casey said, it's real easy. You have a bucket, they pick up your bucket, they leave you a clean bucket. They feed it to their worms, and the worms make this beautiful worm casting soil fertilizer additive that local folks can buy at a very reasonable price.
Also used for fishing.
Also used for
Right.
there are so many uses.
Big red.
And to really be able to really impact it in any way, shape, or form. So I think now for those who live in Cass County and Fargo, West Fargo, Horace, would be Prairie. And I don't know how big of a service area Prairie composting has, but to be able to have a county facility that perhaps would have capacity for such things.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Bryce, but it just occurred to me when people ask about things that they could do to support this, et cetera. For people on the North Dakota side of the border, if there was interest there, I think just, even just a quick email to Corey or someone indicating that there would be at least interest, no commitments, but interested in this sort of thing, I think helps provide, support for it. Or better yet, maybe if you could send some sort of indication to the group, because as we're doing the grant, we have been told by those who know about this that letters of support or indications of support are important in the grant process. So if we could say there's certainly no commitments, but there's interest from the other side of the board, well, maybe not. Is the MPCA going to try to preference their grant because they're helping North Dakota? I think I take all that back.
I do think that you should keep in your mind, though, whether we put it in the grant or not, that ideally this facility would also serve Cass County,
Right.
you know, Trail County, Richland County.
Currently, the sanitation programs in both Clay and Cass counties work together.
Mhm.
And so there's trucking back and forth of regular things.
Yeah.
And so it's already happening. But I think perhaps this would just add another layer of things that they could collaborate on beyond leachate or other items.
Sure.
Yeah, I would say from like from the customer perspective of having composting services available for you. It's kind of like single stream recycling, where it's like the easier you can make this, the more likely, like when Prairie Compost came and they're like, you can put like almost anything in there because of the way they compost. I was like, okay, we can do this. Like we can do it and not mess it up. So that is extremely helpful. Plotting things out for max interaction.
That's a great point. I just wonder, so our financial health committee mentioned the MPCA grant funding at the beginning. I don't know if there's multiple types of funding through MPCA or if we're looking at the exact same grant. But it just seems like that's maybe one way that we could work.
This is designated composting grants.
Okay.
It says composting facilities.
It's the finance committee was talked about earlier, and it is a different MPCA grant, Rory, somebody? It's the same.
It's the same one.
And so that's what I think was the disconnect.
Corey from Solid Waste is aware. He determined that the two grants opportunities was unique. This group applied for it as well.
Sure. I mean, or is it worth exploring some collaboration there potentially? Because I don't see our group, the food partners, doing direct food waste reduction per se, to the extent that, you know, having a new composting facility would. But I think we could work in complementary ways with education, outreach. We have players at the table here who are elected officials, who work for public health, extension, other organizations that might be able to help with that, kind of expanding the engagement and awareness around this. So I'm not on the financial health committee, but I just wanted to plant that seed that it might be worth just having an exploratory conversation around that.
See, am I the only, oh no, Jeff. Hey, no, other Jeff. You're on the finance committee. I was like, if you wanted to explore that, is that something? I mean, I could ask Eric or Adam. I feel that that is inappropriate because they are on the steering committee. And is that something that you would be interested in exploring, being a partner in the organic composting element?
Sure.
As part of the finance committee? Looking at the other end of the, yeah, okay, cool. Would you like a motion for that, do you think, folks?
Yeah, then we can get it.
Then we can get it on the record? Excellent. Jeff, is that a motion?
Sure, so.
Perfect. So we've got a motion to explore Cass Clay Food Partners being a partner with Clay County in their organic composting program grant application.
Second.
Marvelous. Thank you, Jim. Further discussion.
Before we vote, is that something Bryce and Fred you would be interested in maybe pursuing with your action group?
I'm sorry, what is the?
Our group was also looking at the MPCA grant and putting in a proposal for that. And I wonder if the two organizations or two groups could maybe connect and explore a collaborative proposal or just kind of discuss what makes sense.
Well, speaking personally, it makes a lot of sense to me that we have communication about that. My understanding of the grant, and I'm not working directly with writing the grant, but I was in a meeting on Monday with people dealing with that. And as they went through the parts for the grant, it seemed to me that the grant application they were doing was very specific to a composting facility. Right? It wasn't just generically, what can you do about food waste? It's like, should we give you money to build a composting facility? There's dedicated money there for compost facilities. So I don't know how the two grant applications could be combined.
They are separate, but what the proposal was is if we aid with the success of the composting facility, the education, the outreach, things that we are really excellent at already and are listed as a partner on your grant.
I can't see how that would be a problem.
Yeah.
That would be
Yes.
fantastic.
Did I understand that correctly, Noel? Did I?
I don't think we're saying, we want to be written into your grant, but I think exploring how the two could be complementary, or if it does make sense to combine.
Expression of support from another group that says that they would support education efforts to participate in composting would be very welcome, and speaking again individually, I might hug you.
We've approved letters of support as a food commission for grant proposals in the past.
And so what I hear is the financial health subcommittee will choose as our Cass Clay Food Commission to move forward with partnering or not. But we are giving them this power with this motion to do that work for us, to connect with them in a timely manner so we don't hold up any grants, but can explore a collaboration. Does that sound good? Everybody is understanding what we are voting on. So if they see that the Cass Clay Food Commission supported this, you'll be okay with it? Yeah, okay, perfect. Any other further discussion on the motion on the table? No, and that is to have our financial health committee review a partnership with the Clay County Climate Action Group and Clay County Solid Waste to apply for an MPCA grant for an organic waste facility. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. We're going to move to public comment. Anybody from the public want to make a comment today? Anybody online interested? I see that we've got links to Prairie Roots and Prairie Composting. Adam, would you include those in our follow-up minutes? Erica had really great slides. I'm hoping we can get those in a follow-up meeting or a follow-up email to all steering committee and commissioners. Last call for public comment. Hearing none, we will move on to Commission and Steering Committee Roundtable. So we've got updates and meeting reflections. I think we've had really robust conversation today. I want to be mindful of the time that we've got about 5 minutes left of the meeting. But if there is an event coming up, something that you were really inspired by today and the presentations, please feel free to share it at this time.
I guess I would like to just say to more than Nana how I know Katie outside of the meeting, but the level of process that you've invested, not just, hey, we want to give, the steps that you're taking, with the licensed kitchen, having all the things. That's really, really cool. And it's going to be pretty successful, I think. And do you have a time frame when you get your ones?
It's
the
application has been in. It's just a matter of government.
Should open some more doors for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mel L was not able to be with us here today, one of my colleagues from Great Plains Food Bank, but we are currently working on a data project called CARROT, and it stands for Community Agricultural Resiliency Audit Tool. It's 101 indicators based on 7 themes. And what we're looking for is feedback from people who are working in different areas of the food network, particularly when I hear us talking about composting and soil conservation and things like that. Wondering if it would be okay to send a link to that survey to this group. And if you feel that one of those descriptions fits your work and that you might have some insight, would love to get feedback, because we are seeing that we have some gaps, particularly when it comes to like soil conservation, farmland security, those types of things.
Perfect. Jill, would you send that to Adam? And Adam, would you include that link? I know when Erica was doing her presentation, she talked about the Minnesota Board of Water and Soil Resources, which we friendly call Bowser. And so many of us know about programs within Bowser, but also people who are on those boards, the Bowser boards. And I think being able to reach out to those in our community who are in the Cass and Clay communities. And so that's my call to those who are representing county and city commissions to send that out to your networks as well. Because what I'm hearing from Jill is that there are some gaps and we can help fill that with our own advocacy and information sharing. So that is exactly what this roundtable is about, Jill. Thank you very much for bringing that forward.
As well as a description of what those themes and those
Perfect. Perfect. Any other inspiring elements to share? Events coming up? No, I will look to our future meetings. So we've got a steering committee meeting, which our steering committee is our Steering Plus Action Committee. They're meeting March 23rd in this room at 1 p.m. Nobody is required to show up, but it is always nice to have folks to be at the table and have conversations. Our next commission meeting, which will be the 58th commission meeting, I know it's wild, will be May 13th at 10:30 in this very room. I want to thank everybody again for joining us today. We had a very productive and insightful, just inspiring meeting today. It is a pleasure to serve with you and see you every couple of months. So take care, be well, and see you again in May.